What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Anime Vanguards video. Today I'm going to be showcasing the new Boo unit who I currently have equipped. You're going to notice we have Blitz on him. I did not get a better trait. This is also the shiny version of Boo, which, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to go ahead and get a non-shiny just so he looks better. I'm just going to keep the shiny, even though he looks objectively worse. Boo is probably one of the best units out of this whole update. He is, in my opinion, meta DPS and support. So we're going to go ahead and show you how he works. Now, be prepared because there is a long explanation for everything. Okay, so here we are in sandbox mode. Now, you're going to see I have a few extra units that are very relevant to this showcase. But first, we're going to go ahead and place Boo. And we're going to immediately notice that he has a candy stacks bar right here, which is very relevant to the entirety of his kit. And we're going to look at his passives. The first passive, the Ultimate Evil, cleanses any status effect applied to this unit, which has a local 10-second cooldown. When this unit attacks an enemy, they turn into candy for 30 seconds. If this unit gets a kill on an enemy that has been turned into candy, they gain 1 candy stack. The second passive is not unlocked until upgrade 7, but the third passive is already unlocked, which attacks will stun enemies, and then he gains 2 candy stacks instead of 1 per candy enemy killed. So we're going to upgrade him a little bit further, and you're going to see he gains a wide line AoE attack, but that's not what we're looking for here. We're going to upgrade him all the way, and we're going to look at his second passive now, which his second passive will give him 15% extra damage and 10% extra range on every transformation, and this stacks. Selling this unit causes them to refund the summons cap, and he loses this passive's buff, and then he transforms. Now we're going to place down a second Boo so I can show you what that transformation is. So we're just going to go ahead and upgrade him a little bit so he unlocks that passive, and now we're going to go ahead and sell him, and he'll transform into the kid version of Boo. Now he does have his own he does have his own list of passives, but we're not going to go over that yet because one of them is relevant to having this guy fully transformed all the way. So we're going to go ahead and transform him now, and you're going to see his damage go up a little bit, and he also gains a new passive. So his new passive for every enemy hit by this unit's attacks, he will increase his damage by 0.1%. So if 10 enemies get hit by this unit's attack, he will increase his damage by 1%, which we just saw right there. Now we're going to go ahead and wait until he has 50 candy stacks again so we can go ahead and transform him again. In fact, we're actually going to speed up this process by summoning in more of these guys right here. And hold on, that apparently wasn't enough, and that should be enough. There we go, and we're going to transform him again. Now, this is his second to last transformation, I believe. I think. For some reason, the model hasn't loaded in. For some reason, my Roblox is loading in very slowly today, but whatever. Now, he gains another passive with this transformation. Every 10 enemies killed by this unit summons in a basic summon for 70% of this unit's attack stat. So we're actually going to go ahead and look over here, and some of these guys have already spawned, and they have 30,000 health at this upgrade. Which that is about 70% of his damage. And you're going to notice this guy just keeps getting more and more passives. This is actually the unit with the most passives in the game. Now we're going to transform him again, and this should be his final transformation. No, it's not. This is his second to last transformation. Now, the passive he gains from this buffs all Dragon Ball units in range by 10% attack and 30% crit chance. Now, the reason I have all these other units in my loadout is because Mr. Satan actually pairs up really well with him, because his passive, if you didn't watch my video, basically buffs crit damage and extra attack by 20% to all Dragon Ball units. So if we put down a unit like Gohan, for example, we're going to see that while he already has 30% crit chance from his main passive, from Boo, he then turns that into 60% crit chance, and then Mr. Satan will then buff his crit damage even more. And then, you know, then basically whenever he crits, he'll do those follow-up attacks, and that just makes him even more broken. Now, this also applies to units like Gogeta, so I would highly recommend using that to buff him further. It also applies to, of course, like Goku Super Saiyan 3, and it also applies to Ichigo due to his second passive. That basically means that if there is a category for a unit that is part of a buff or something, in this case, Dragon Sphere units, then he is part of that group. So this update actually makes Ichigo a tiny bit better as well, but not like super good still. Now we're going to go ahead and delete Mr. Satan over here because we no longer need him, and we're going to look at his candy stacks real quick. So we have 34 candy stacks. We're just going to go ahead and summon a few more of these guys so we can get his last transformation. So now we're going to transform him one final time, and this is his final transformation. So if we look at his passives, he gets the Egg Stomper passive, meaning he cannot gain candy stacks, which that's fine because he doesn't need them anymore. When a candy enemy is defeated by this unit, the enemy explodes, dealing 50% of this unit's damage in a small AoE, which that is a really good passive as well, but since these guys keep getting one shot, it doesn't seem like I'll be able to actually show off that passive. Now, the reason I waited to sell him and transform him again will make sense to you in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and sell, and then now he transforms into this unit right here. Now we're going to look at his passives. Now his first passive is immune to status effects, and for every transformation this unit had before being sold, he gains 20% extra damage, which is why I waited until he was at his final transformation to sell him and evolve him again. Now, the second passive, anytime this unit kills an enemy, they will immediately attack again on the location where that enemy was defeated at a 5-second local cooldown, which that is very useful. That's kind of like Gogeta's double attack, but it's kind of, it's determined on whether or not you actually kill the enemy, so it is still a good passive to have. The third passive is this unit will always target the highest HP enemy. When attacking the highest HP enemy, that enemy receives 30% more damage from Kid Buu. So you're gonna look right here, and you're gonna see that he is automatically set to the strongest for his targeting system, and you cannot change his targeting priority. So we're actually gonna spawn in a bunch of like a boss. Let's up his speed a bit. We're gonna summon in a boss over here, and we're gonna summon in a bunch of these guys as well. Now you're gonna notice that even if I were to up the speed for some of these guys and summon them in, even if they pass him up, okay, actually I should have did that way earlier because now they're out of range. So hold on, we're actually gonna redo that real quick. So we're gonna spawn in this boss, right? Now we're gonna spawn in enemies that will definitely get past. You're gonna notice that even though there are enemies past in the in his range, he is always going to be targeting the strongest enemy in his range, or the enemy with the most health. Now do note, he also does take 30% more damage whenever you do it like this, so that is a really good thing to just have, I guess. He is also a 3 placement limit, meaning Monarch is definitely a good choice for a trait on him. However, we have Blitz on him just because I couldn't get a better trait. Honestly, the only thing kind of bad with this unit is that his range isn't amazing in comparison to more recent units. But I would highly recommend getting this unit. Now personally, I would recommend not selling him to get this Kid Buu form, because in my opinion he has more utility and like usability as that, because he gets more support and he does a very similar amount of damage if we're excluding his passives. Now, mostly, I would recommend using him to buff the other Dragon Ball units, like Vegito and like Gohan, because those two units, when buffed, will be excellent. So I would highly recommend, yet again, not selling him to transform him into Kid Buu. Alright, well, that was the showcase. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I explained how to use this unit properly. And be on the lookout for my next video, because once I publish this video, I will be working on a video ranking all new Update 5 units. Make sure to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and I will see you guys next time. That's about it. See ya. My name is